Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Your brain wasn't designed to help you achieve ambitious goals. Its priority for thousands of years has been simple: to protect you, to keep you alive, safe, without spending more energy than necessary. This function, while vital in a wild environment, becomes an obstacle in modern life. Because for your primal mind, protection means avoiding the uncertain, the uncomfortable, and anything that doesn't guarantee an immediate reward. That's why every time you think about starting something new, a habit, a project, an important decision, you aren't dealing with a lack of motivation. You are confronting a nervous system designed to keep you in the familiar. The part of the brain that detects threats, the amygdala, doesn't distinguish between a real predator and the discomfort of making that call you've been postponing for weeks. It reacts with the same pattern: alert, avoidance, paralysis. And so, inertia is born. That invisible force that seems to stop you for no reason. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's a biology ill-suited for a reality where the greatest danger is inaction. When we feel this resistance, it's common to think something is wrong with us, that we are lazy, weak, not enough. But it isn't weakness. It's the reflex of a mind trained to avoid uncertain effort. Understanding this doesn't remove responsibility. It clarifies it. Our cultural response has been the war cry of motivation. Push yourself, try harder, be disciplined. But when you use willpower to force movement, you spend limited energy in a constant struggle. In the long run, this strategy fails, because every day you depend on motivation to act, you are betting against the odds. Motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes. It is a capricious visitor. So what can be done? How do you overcome an inertia that is born in the deepest parts of your nervous system? The key isn't to push harder, it's to understand how that system works, and to work with it, not against it. This is where a powerful principle comes in: friction reduction. If you can't eliminate the resistance completely, you can reduce it to the point where it no longer has the strength to stop you. And that is achieved with a micro-action. A micro-action is the psychological equivalent of nudging a tiny pebble instead of trying to move a mountain. And when you nudge that pebble, something unexpected happens. You generate movement. And movement creates momentum. The human brain is wired to respond to reward. But you don't need huge achievements to experience that reward. A small victory is enough. A first step. And that's where the habit I want to talk to you about comes in. The activation switch. A minimal, concrete gesture. So easy that your brain cannot resist it. A 60-second action that breaks inertia. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. When you complete a micro-action, your brain releases dopamine. That small dose gives you just enough energy to consider the next step, and then the next. The 60-second habit works because it bypasses the psychological barrier of starting. It requires no motivation, it requires no energy, it only requires a decision. Let's take an example. You want to start reading more, but every night you're tired and overwhelmed. The idea of reading 30 pages is too much. So the switch is, open the book and read just one line. One line, nothing more. If you want to keep reading afterward, you can, but it's not required. The goal isn't the result. It's to create an internal signal of movement. Your identity begins to change, because every time you complete that micro-action, you are giving your brain new evidence. I am someone who acts. I don't wait until I feel ready. This changes the game completely. You are no longer trapped in the motivation-resistance guilt cycle. You are building an identity based on minimal, sustained action. Most lasting changes don't happen with big decisions, but with small, repeated actions. You don't need to transform your life today. You just need to activate yourself in the next 60 seconds. This principle applies to everything, from studying to starting a difficult conversation, from getting back to training to tidying your home. There is always a micro-action available. Think about that conversation you're avoiding. What would be the smallest possible switch? Maybe just typing that person's name in a message without sending it. Just that. Or that exercise routine you always postpone. What if the switch was simply rolling out your mat on the floor without committing to a single repetition? The power lies in reducing the resistance to zero, in making the initial act so ridiculously easy that you can't refuse to do it. Because once you start, everything changes. The Stoics knew this. They understood that the beginning of an action had a moral value, that it wasn't about the final result, but about the virtuous impulse to start with intention. They called it horme, that first impulse of the soul toward a worthy action. They didn't wait to be motivated. They trained themselves to respond with movement to what was right, however small. Applied today, that means redefining what you consider success. It's not finishing the project, it's having taken the smallest step that brings you closer to it, even if that step lasts less than a minute. There is something profoundly liberating in this approach. It gets you out of the all-or-nothing mindset. You stop feeling like you have to transform everything to move forward. You discover that power is in the tiny, not the epic. And while others wait for the perfect moment, you train your mind to act in imperfect conditions. That is true freedom, to move even if you don't feel like it, even if you don't have time, even if it's not ideal. The key is to have the switch clearly defined before you face the resistance. Prepare it like an archer sharpening an arrow. That way, when the mind wants to sabotage you, you already have the answer ready. Make a list of your most common friction points. Identify which actions you tend to avoid. And for each one, design an activation switch, a specific micro-action that cannot be rejected by your brain. Write down that first step. Make it visible. Post it on your desk, on the mirror, on your phone screen. Transform it into a ritual, because what is repeated becomes identity. And don't expect big results at first. The victory isn't in what you achieve today, but in the evidence you accumulate. Every time you complete a micro-action, you're casting a vote for the person you want to be. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, is not activated by intentions. It's activated by repetition. Repeating a small habit creates new connections, new neural pathways that make it easier to act the next time. You are rewriting your mind, not with brute force, but with gentle persistence. Like water that, drop by drop, shapes the stone. Not through intensity, but through consistency. And that requires patience. Because for a while, the transformation will be invisible. You won't see external results. But inside you, something is changing. The resistance is no longer a wall. It's a fog you know how to walk through. And there comes a point when you don't even think about starting. You just do it. No drama, no internal negotiation. You have crossed the threshold where identity no longer needs to be pushed. Now it guides you. It is at that point you realize the goal was never to beat procrastination. The goal was to remember that you have the power to move, even in the midst of doubt. And if you can move, you can build. If you can build, you can transform. If you can transform, you can live a life that is not dictated by fear, but guided by your intention. And it all begins with a decision. Not with a master plan, not with an epic wave of motivation, just with a 60-second gesture, a switch, a minimal action that changes your chemistry, your day, and your story. The real transformation happens when you stop depending on how you feel, and you start acting from who you've decided to be. Emotion follows commitment, not the other way around. The real transformation happens when you stop depending on how you feel, and you start acting from who you've decided to be. Emotion follows commitment, not the other way around. Don't wait to be ready. No one ever is. Start before you feel prepared, because every micro-action you take trains you to trust more in your capability and less in your mood. There is beauty in the small. There is power in the immediate. There is truth in that instant when you choose to move a muscle, take a breath, pick up the phone, write a single word. And if you do this every day, even just once, you'll be creating an entirely new timeline. A life built not on postponed plans, but on present steps. Those steps don't have to be perfect. They just have to be real. Because perfection paralyzes, but action liberates. And that is what you are seeking: internal freedom. So the next time your mind says, "I can't," respond with something stronger, just for 60 seconds. That is your threshold, your secret weapon, your quiet revolution. And if you can't do much today, do little. If you can't move forward, breathe and connect with your intention. Because even the smallest act, done with awareness, has the power of transformation. Remember this: the most difficult moment is not the end. It's the beginning. What comes after builds itself, but you need that first instant of courage to move your inner world. Now think about that task you've been avoiding. Write it down. Then write down the smallest, simplest, easiest switch you can activate. And do it. Not tomorrow, today. In the next 60 seconds. Because that's where it all begins.